We left off with Tony talking about, with Rick's popularity, how she had to deal with, some outside influences. I'm going to go back to Rick. What did you do to assure Tony that she had nothing to worry about and still has nothing to worry about?
And if she's providing all that I need, and I'm doing the same thing for her, because that's the whole thing about marriage is you in service to each other. You in service to each other. Okay.
Have you ever had one of Rick's friends that you just particularly didn't care about and you wanted him to just cut him off?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I was definitely clear about it, too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm making sure it wasn't going to be no misunderstanding. That's all. I'm just making sure it wasn't going to be no you didn't misread, it wasn't no mislabel, nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm just making sure there's no misunderstanding in that.
But the reason that bothered me so badly is because, wait a minute now, wait a minute. I'm Rick James. I don't give a damn what he might be thinking. That ain't no avenue to I was about to say something raw and uncut, but I'm going to keep it clean. Ain't no avenue over here. This all I want right there. Yeah. That's my package right there. Everything I need is right there. And unless she starts slacking, then that's the only avenue for another woman to slip in. But a damn sure ain't an avenue for a man to get up in there.
Welcome back. We left off with Tony talking about, with Rick's popularity, how she had to deal with, some outside influences. I'm going to go back to Rick. What did you do to assure Tony that she had nothing to worry about and still has nothing to worry about?
Well, I think when we initially got married, I had already in my head that I wanted to be true to her. And then I think what leads to insecurity is when you create avenues of need. So I've always had the thought in my mind that I control what I control. And so what I control was how she felt when I left the house. And so when I'm there, I need to listen to her. I need to give her what she needs on an emotional from an emotional basis. And obviously when from an intimacy standpoint, make sure she's satisfied. Make her holler and throw up both her legs. I digress. But my point being is I tried to make sure that I talked to her to find out what her needs were and make sure I met them so that when I wasn't in a position where other women appeal to me in that capacity. Right. One thing about marriage is it doesn't stop the two people from being attracted to other folk. Mm-hmm. What it does though is it creates an exclusivity between the two people. And if she's providing all that I need, and I'm doing the same thing for her, because that's the whole thing about marriage is you in service to each other. You in service to each other. And if you put the needs, the reason Adam and Eve didn't look at each other and say we naked, because they were too busy just appreciating the beauty of the other person. So they didn't think about we naked. I just know that you're the most beautiful thing that's standing in front of me, and I'm gonna make sure I do everything I can to make sure that you're happy and satisfied, and we enjoying the beauty of this garden. And so to try and give her some comfort, I tried to make sure that when I left home, that she didn't have any question that she hadn't met my needs, and so I'd have to be looking outside of it. But to the issue of when women would approach me or women would come to me when I was, out singing or whatever the case may be, I always had it in the back of my mind of what I have at home. And so it was a lot easier to avoid the pitfall when I say, okay, for an hour of pleasure, you're going to give up a lifetime of love and what you're trying to build. And then I've seen firsthand what that can do. Because some of my buddies would cheat on their wives, and I saw the results of what happened and how that affected his relationship with his wife, how that affected his relationship with his children, and I couldn't have that. I didn't want my daughters looking at me like, what kind of man are you to jeopardize, to put my mother in that kind of position? And that was a catalyst to say, no, we're not going to do that. The foundation of having a religious basis in your marriage helps you to fight that, because then it goes back to what you're accountable for. So I just couldn't have my daughters or my wife looking at me thinking, he's subject to cheat.
All those aunts.
Yeah, all them aunts. And there was a bunch of y'all,
I
actually.
will say that Rick was fully, when he was at home, he was fully engaged in me. Mm-hmm. Now, whether that was to talk to me and so that he could be intimate with me later on, because I'm at home now. But he did provide total attention towards me, and he showed that with the girls, how he was fully engaged in me. So that was appreciative, but we had to get over that obstacle of, I'm doing all this, and then you coming home, and now I got to be full of energy, to be intimate with you. And so it was a matter of just sitting down and talking to each other and explaining, here's how I feel, and here's how he feels.
What about outside voices, like in-laws?
Yeah.
And setting those boundaries up within your marriage? Because that can be a lot.
I would have to say we have really, on my end, I have really been blessed with in-laws. I don't know, maybe it's because his parents stayed in California, we were in Texas, but I didn't really have much of issues with my mother-in-law and my father-in-law.
But if you did, like, not you, but if one of your friends came to you and said, I have these problems with my in-laws, what would you say? What would you tell them?
I think they would have to really talk to their in-laws and let them know that the relationship that Rick and I, or that their husband have, that relationship that we share, depending on how the situation or what situation we were encountering with dealing with in-laws, I think I would have to bring it more to Rick's attention to have him to talk to his parents to say, hey, this is really hitting me kind of wrong, with your parents to be involved in this within our relationship, whether it be them having him to come or do something for him or send money. I think I would have to express myself to him to let him know how much that bothered me, and hoping that he would put something to his parents to say, hey, this is not working because I'm having an issue with it with my wife. But like I say, we were blessed with the fact of not having that issue, or I didn't have that issue with in-laws.
I think it's twofold, though. I think if it's my family that's chiming in or giving us advice about stuff and it's problematic, or they not treating her properly, that's my obligation to go to my family and say, hey, this needs to be corrected. Now, I don't know what is the basis for your dislike or what's creating the issues that we having, but we need to resolve those, because this is my wife. You got to respect her as my wife, and so that conversation has to be had between me and my family, or her and her family, if conversely. At the same time, then once that happens, I should be able to bring her to them and say, hey, let's talk about this, so we all have a clear understanding of how we're moving forward. Because ultimately, we all want the same thing, is for us to have a commitment to our families growing, staying connected, maintaining the bond. And so that has to take place, I think.
I'm gonna throw another topic out. How do you deal with friends? Like, maybe you don't like his friends, or maybe you don't like her friends, or maybe you just like, this friend you cannot bring in my home. And maybe it's not even valid. Like this person hasn't done anything, you just don't like them. Or maybe it is valid where this person is just a bad influence. What do you do? And y'all shaking your head like you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I think every couple has some friends that maybe one person don't like, and you have to address it, but I don't know if Rick wants to speak to it in regards.
Well, we had this specific situation.
Yeah, I have to.
Twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, twice. And
I think it was more on my end too, but
yeah, it was her. Everybody look like Rick James. I don't like Rick James, baby. Come on now. But women in particular can have issues with other women.
Yeah.
And in our situation, she had a dear friend, and she felt like that relationship was impacted by someone else, and so it kind of severed the connection, or at least in her mind. And as a result of that, I needed to hear what she said when she was telling me how she felt about how it felt. And, men tend to want to be fixers.
Yeah.
So in that initial situation, I went to that friend and tried to mend it, and ultimately it did get corrected. Now, fast forward, she had another friend, and her kind of fell out over some things. Now, in that instance...
But let's get it straight. Rick is not the person that I'm telling this to go and try to fix it.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I'm not wanting him to fix it.
Yeah.
He's a fixer on his own. So when he gets involved into this second relationship that we're having with a friend that I'm not too much
bumping heads with.
Yeah, and I'm telling him about it. Then he's taking in what I'm saying, and he's now thinking, okay, now how can I fix this for her? And so now he begins to try to jump in and try to fix this relationship.
And that was my counsel to her too, is that I'm trying to, let's consider this. But she wasn't wanting me to fix it.
Yeah.
She was wanting me to hear what she was. Our pastor always says, sit in the well with me. And that's what she wanted me to do. She wanted me to sit in the well with her and just hear her out. Don't fix it, Negro. Just sit there and listen to me real quick, okay?
Have you ever had one of Rick's friends that you just particularly didn't care about and you wanted him to just cut him off?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I was definitely clear about it, too.
And what did you do?
Cut it off.
I didn't cut them off.
Cut it off.
They my partners,
Cut it
but
off.
I know I don't need to invite him to the house for functions or whatever the case may be. I go out, I hang out with him. We hoop or we bowl or whatever we
Cut
do.
it off.
And that's it. But, I got a couple of buddies that just get on her nerves.
Fix that one.
Just get on her nerves, So but I respect what she said.
You respect.
I respect the fact.
But you didn't say you can't hang with him anymore or hang with him anymore.
No, I didn't. But I think he knew how I felt about it to where he never bought. He didn't have the privilege of coming to me and say, "Hey, T, we saw this deal. I was with so and so, and it was really fun. And he brought this to my attention." He didn't. That privilege was taken away. Because I didn't want to hear nothing about him. I didn't want to hear what he did with him, how much fun they had. I didn't want to hear any of that. It was done. And when it came to the particular friend he's talking about with myself, that instant I really felt that I was being directed by the Lord with that one. And I wanted him to sit with me, and I explained to him the reason why. It was something that he didn't need to be involved with. Let it revolve and resolve itself.
Right.
Well, I was talking about my friend from college. I think she's talking about a different situation. I know it's a buddy of mine she don't particularly care for.
Yeah.
But since are you talking about that situation
The friend
from
from
First
college?
Baptist?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's get into this one there. Because this is kind of on a deeper level that I don't think, put it like this, it depends on your perspective.
Okay.
And from my perspective, this was a situation where he was a friend from church, not an acquaintance. So this ain't like my boy I'm going to hoop with and I'm hanging out with, and she don't like his attitude. This is a guy that had some DL tendencies, we'll put it that way.
Oh, wow.
And so he gave me some shoes. Now, in my head, it's just a Negro giving me some shoes. That's all. And I ain't thinking beyond that, because it'll be just like one of my partners giving me some shoes.
Right.
Period. But Tanya took exception to that. And she felt like my acceptance of the shoes in some way created an avenue for something different.
Yeah.
Well, I'm making sure it wasn't going to be no misunderstanding. That's all. I'm just making sure it wasn't going to be no you didn't misread, it wasn't no mislabel, nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm just making sure there's no misunderstanding in that.
But the reason that bothered me so badly is because, wait a minute now, wait a minute. I'm Rick James. I don't give a damn what he might be thinking. That ain't no avenue to I was about to say something raw and uncut, but I'm going to keep it clean. Ain't no avenue over here. This all I want right there. Yeah. That's my package right there. Everything I need is right there. And unless she starts slacking, then that's the only avenue for another woman to slip in. But a damn sure ain't an avenue for a man to get up in there. So I don't know why this is such an issue. Yeah. It's just some shoes. I'm gonna put them on my feet. I'm gonna go wear my suit with them, and that's all. Yeah. So if he got any other agenda, that's on him.
Well, they got cut.
It sure did. Because she made me get him shoes. She made me get them shoes back so fast.
She made me get the shoes
Gave them back. You hear me? Hey, she was steaming. Yeah. I said, I can't have this aggravation, so let me get him shoes right back. Yeah.
Well, here, I'm going to put this in. And we're family. KK, and I call her KK and Christy. We know how our mothers were. Yeah. And our mothers was very strong in regards if they felt something, it was going to be that way. Right. And I was very strong about this particular incident, and it was going to be that way. I didn't care how it was going to take place. That's how I felt. And I was very strong about it. And I can appreciate him accepting that and did it. And so it was done, period.
Ricky,
I gave them shoes back real quick, fast, in a hurry. I know that.
I understand. Like, Ricky had some friends that I didn't like. And there was a reason why. It's just not so.
Sometimes you see something that they don't see in their relationship, and you have to cut it loose.
Yeah, but this particular friend, he would come to the door and ask for Ricky, and we had a glass door at that time, and then we had the front door. And so he'd come ring the doorbell, Ricky, he ain't here, click, and just turn around and go. Just slam the door in his face. Well, the glass door didn't even open.
There's no respect.
None. Whatsoever.
Yes.
I met him by letter Loretta.
Yes.
He ain't here to take your...
Yes. Clearly understood.
Yeah, you're not even getting it through the front door.
Yes. Yes. And that's the way it was.
Yeah.
The period, and it was done.